Good afternoon everybody, welcome back to EP UK. In today's video we're going to be looking at my blackout kit and what you can put inside of yours to make it as effective as possible. Stick around, let's find out. I feel it's important to have a good base of kit and knowledge to tackle a scenario like this, especially seeing what's happened in Spain, Portugal and south of France. What I've done is broken down the items into 10 categories. We've got lighting, cooking, food, water, hygiene, supplemental power, entertainment, safety, clothing and communications. Here are the items to have in your blackout kit to ensure your comfort and survival. Starting off with lighting. What we've got here is a selection of torches. We've got a wind-up torch, which are brilliant when you've got no power. We have a rechargeable Nebo 500 lumen torch. And we have, I think it's around a 300 lumen flashlight from Temu. It was like £2. Really cheap, really easy to get hold of. We've also got some regular tea candles. A lantern that's been left outside in the garden for a very long time and still works. And finally, we have a hurricane lantern or a storm lantern. I find these really cool. I think they're really awesome. Bought it fairly recently and it works really well. You want to make sure you've got a high amount of lumens. This will give you more brightness in your situation. And you could even consider having a red light option, which are really good for security because they emit less light further. Now you can get a variety of these lighting methods quite cheap. I believe this torch was £3 from the range. This torch was around £15–20 from one of the local army surplus shops. These are about £3 for a pack of 20 or something like that. This was about £10. Another fun option for lighting is glow sticks or silooms, depending on what you like to call them. I find these are really good, especially for the kids, just to make sure that when they're running around it's a bit more fun and less scary for them. They're also really good for marking obstacles and hazards in your house, like stairs and door handles, just in case you've got somebody who might not be able to see as well in the dark in your family. One important thing to make note of is if you're using one of these hurricane lamps, make sure that you have some spare wicks, some spare fluid, one that you can use indoors and outdoors, and some matches to actually light it. It's a bit tricky lighting them with lighters because they're a bit short. One thing I will say though is if you're using one of these, you really need to take your safety into consideration. I'll get into that at the end when I come on to safety. Next, we're moving on to food. After 24 to 48 hours, most refrigerated and frozen food will have expired, harbouring dangerous bacteria, so don't eat it. Having shelf-stable food like canned and dried goods allows for you to stay satiated and avoid starvation. For example, army rations, army snacks, canned foods and dry shelf-stable goods. Unless you want to be enjoying cold food for however long the power cut lasts, it's useful to have some items to help you cook, because likelihood is electric stoves won't work and your gas mains may be shut off. Starting off, we have a small pocket stove alongside a small fuel canister. This is really good if you're just a single person that doesn't have to cook for a large amount of people. If you're out and about, if you have to move, if you have to go anywhere and you want to be able to cook, these are really great and they're affordable as well, ranging from around £20. Next up, we've got a gas-powered camp stove. These are really good. They're perfect if you've got more than 2 people that you need to cook for. These canisters last around a day each, day and a half each, depending on how often you're using them. They're absolutely perfect. However, safety aspect, do not use them indoors. They emit carbon dioxide. Any of those methods of cooking would be perfectly acceptable, as long as you do them in the right place and don't poison yourself. It's also advised to have a fire starting kit should you need it. What I've got here is some char cloth in a tin, some Vaselined cotton pads, some paracord, some cramp ball fungus, which is really good at catching sparks, and some small matches in here. as well as citronella candles just in case I'm outside and there's loads of flies. Finally, if you're really fancy and have an external power method like a generator of some kind, you can use one of these electric induction stoves. All you need to do is plug it into the generator or whatever it is you're using, be it solar or diesel powered, and then you can cook on it. Another quick disclaimer here is make sure that you have suitable cookware that won't be damaged or ruined by using fire as a heat source. If you don't want to invest in any of these options, you can buy flameless British Army ration heaters. They cost around maybe 50 pence each. They're really good for when you're on the move and you have to heat up rations or heat up any food. Only disclaimer with that is do not drink the water after you're done with it. Next up, we're on to water. Purification and collection. You can only last around 3 days without water, therefore ensuring that you have enough water stored is vital, as well as the ability to collect, purify and sterilise water from external sources. Aim to store around 1 gallon of water per person per day for cooking, drinking and hygiene for a minimum of 3 days. Personally, I have a water filter, bandana for pre-filtering and water purification tablets. However, you can also boil the water and use thin, unscented bleach at the correct ratio to purify. Here are those ratios for your notes. In a situation where supplied water may be limited, fill up pots, buckets and bathtubs with water so that you have a base supply of water that doesn't eat into your pre-existing hydration preps. For me, I have a small collapsible water container that I got from the range. It was around £4. I keep it empty. It's perfect for if something does happen, I can really quickly fill it up with water. Hopefully, if something like this happens, you'll still be in your home, but you still want to maintain a good level of hygiene. Making sure that you've got enough body wash, talc, deodorant, toothbrush and toothpaste, and any medications you may need is really important. I have a box that contains toilet roll, face shields, some lift up items like coffee, a few fire starters and medical equipment, just to make sure that should anything happen that is bad, I have enough stuff to ensure that I can deal with it. Now, another aspect of a power cut could potentially mean that any electric pumps aren't working for water, may potentially mean that your toilet won't flush. Therefore, you might need to get one of these. This is the Streetwise Needaloo XL, and effectively, as you can see, it's a set of bags. It has some toilet paper, and it's effectively just a shell so that you can go to the toilet comfortably. However, you can also use a 5-gallon bucket with a pool noodle around the rim. Moving on to supplemental power. I've found this setup that works for me quite well, especially if I need to be lightweight and on the move when I'm camping. What I have here is a 10,000 milliamp power bank, a solar charger, and a couple of batteries. We've got AAs and AAAs. Now, if you have enough money and you want to go a bit further with this, you can buy a generator, you can buy the fuel powered ones, the dual fuel ones, which work off of propane and petrol or diesel. Or you can buy an electric solar generator, which runs off of solar panels. It's like one of these, but a lot bigger and a lot more efficient. They are quite expensive. They're a couple of £1,000 in most cases for one that can power your home, but you can get portable ones for around £200. Let's get into this and see what this does. So just briefly going into more detail with my solar charger. At the moment you'll notice it is quite dusty. I haven't cleaned it since I last used it. But what it has here is 2 sets of solar panels. What you can do is whilst you're walking, all you need to do is hang this on the back of your backpack, and then in the back end here you have the power unit and a lead for your phone. What you need to do, plug that in. Whoops, wrong side. Get a source of sunlight, plug your phone or your power bank in, and it will begin charging. What I tend to do is first charge the power bank and then charge my phone, so that even if I run out of sun, I can still use the power that's been obtained on the power bank. Next up, we have entertainment items. I find this really important because if you've got children, you'll know that in situations like this, they tend to get quite scared and uneasy. What we've got here are just some items that can help to ease the tension, ease the worry. Got some Connect 4, got chess and drafts, and we've got some playing cards. Now I'm sure with most of these things, they last around 24 hours. You don't need loads and loads of different games. This is plenty to get you by. If it does last longer, well, I suppose you might just have to go raid a toy shop. Or don't. Effectively, these are just really good methods to ensure that your children and yourselves as adults stay happy and maintain a good level of morale. This can include puzzles for the adults and even the kids, and some good reading literature to make sure that you don't get bored whilst you're waiting for the power to come back on. Next up is safety. Especially when using components that involve fire, safety is a very important factor. Making sure that you have a fire extinguisher that's been tested, a carbon monoxide alarm, a way out of your house safely, and even a fire blanket are all brilliant steps to take to make sure that in an event of an emergency in your home, you can maintain safety for your whole family. Carbon monoxide kills thousands of people each year. It's silent, smellless, tasteless, and you don't know when it's coming. Therefore, having this alarm means that you can get a step ahead of that. It's important to have one of these in each room that you'll be cooking in or have any burning lighting in, like candles or oil lamps. Next up we have clothing. You want to make sure that you have the correct and appropriate clothing for the weather that you're dealing with. If it's the middle of winter and the power goes out, you likely won't have heating. So walking around in shorts and flip-flops is probably not going to be your best bet. It's the same with summer. If it's absolutely boiling outside, you're walking around in a woolly dressing gown, you're probably going to overheat and you'll be dehydrated and really not in a good way. Therefore, making sure that you have the right clothing for the temperatures that you're expecting is very important. Finally, we've got communications equipment. This is really important simply because if you've got neighbours or friends and your phones aren't working, you should hopefully be able to contact them if they're within line of sight for these kinds of radios. We've got a USB charger that can plug into the solar pack to charge the Baofeng. We can also use the Baofeng as a radio scanner, so we can listen, wait out for signals. We can get AM and FM on this, really important for getting updates. Additionally, you could get a hand crank radio, but I don't have one yet. I would like one, I just don't have one. That's everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate 1,300 views on the previous video. As you can see, I'm trying to work on the camera quality and my recording style. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like. Stay prepared.